This conference will now be recorded.
नमामि धन्वन्तरीरादिदेवम् सुरासुर वन्दितपादपद्मम् लोके भयमृत्योर्नाशम् दातारमीशम् विविधौषधीनाम् शङ्खं चक्रं जलौकान् दधतमृतघटं चारुदोर्भिष्टतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिरुदं शुक परिविलसन् मौलिमं भोजनेत्रम् कालाम्बोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गम् कटितटविलसच्चारु पीताम्बराढ्यं वन्दे धन्वन्तरितं निखिलगदवन प्रौढदावाग्निलीलम् प्रौढदावाग्निलीलम् प्रौढदावाग्निलीलम्.
Thank you very much, and very good afternoon and very warm welcome to all the delegates and speakers present for this meeting. This is a free lecture from E. Ayurshala, and today we are having our beloved and eminent speaker, Dr. Pratik Patil sir, with us, who will be talking on gastrointestinal disorders and its yogic management. Today, 21st June 2021, today is World Yoga Day, and on the occasion of Yoga Day, we are having a speaker who will be talking on yogic management of gastrointestinal disorders. As let me introduce E. Ayurshala. E. Ayurshala is our aim behind E. Ayurshala formation is to enable our delegates to practice specialty practice. We have completed till date around 20 series of 5, 7 and 10 lectures on different topics like Garbha Sanskar, Panchakarma, Kalyan Panchakarma, diabetic disorders, cancer, thyroid disorders, gynecology, Ghar Wapsi series, and infertility series. And we are launching new series on Basti. So this is Varsha Rutu, and the most important karma in Varsha Rutu is Basti Karma. So we are launching a 10-day series on Basti, which will be announced soon. The dates will be announced soon. So I would like to request all the delegates to please join with us in this series also. And coming to today's topic, I would like to request Dr. Amit Chavan sir to please introduce today's speaker, Dr. Pratik Patil sir. Over to you, Dr. Amit Chavan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Mahesh Patil sir. It gives us an immense pleasure to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Pratik Patil sir. Sir has completed his BMS from MUHS Nashik. Sir has completed his MD in Swasthawritta from Pune, CRC, Nigdi. Sir has also got PGDCR and Diploma in Yoga and Ayurveda from Tilak Maharashtra University, Pune. Sir is currently working as an assistant professor at Department of Swasthawritta and Yoga in D.Y. Patil School of Ayurveda, Nehru, Navi Mumbai. Sir is also Chief Consultant and Director at Sri Vishwa Dhanvantari Ayurveda Chikitsalaya and Panchakarma Center in Nehru since 2011. Sir has been awarded with Best Paper Presentation Award at National Seminar Update Ayurveda Pune. Also nominated for Prime Time Global Icon Awards for Best Ayurvedic Doctor, Mumbai Zone in 2019. Sir has also been awarded with Utkarsha Vaidya Puraskar by Rajmata Jizabai Sansthan. Sir has also published various papers and articles in national and international journals. Sir has been working as a chief coordinator and organizer in various seminars and workshops. Sir has delivered guest lectures and conducted various health checkup camps, which has benefited to more than 10,000 patients till date. So I hereby welcome the most talented, young, and enthusiastic speaker, Dr. Pratik Patil sir, to share his views on Ayurvedic and yogic management in GIT disorders. Over to you, Dr. Pratik Patil sir.
Am I audible, sir? Is the voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your very kind introduction. So, as the topic you all know, before starting the topic, I would like to wish you all a very happy International Yoga Day, as we are celebrating the 7th occasion for the same. And here we are with gastrointestinal topic, gastrointestinal disorders, and its yogic management. So now I just want to clear something, that therapeutic yoga is just a modified form of yoga, but that doesn't mean we are starting directly with a particular asana or a pranayama and that is going to relieve me from a particular disease condition. The things can be used with combination to any kind of medicinal treatment, or if just a person wants to get a relief with a particular mode of action of asanas or pranayams or yogic therapy, then the time span which is required and a consistency will also play an important role. So that doesn't mean a particular asana won't be able to help you in any kind of disorder, or it will be only useful in a particular disorder. So it is a vice versa thing that we need to follow. So as the organizers have already done the brief introduction, thank you very much for that. I will be starting with the topic. So before starting with the disease and its management, I just want to share with you, all of you are doctors and you know what are the components of digestive system. Just we'll revise it in a flash. They are salivary, starting right from our mouth to the glands, salivary glands, pharynx, esophagus. Then there are glands like liver, spleens, gallbladders, etc. And then coming to the stomach, small intestines, large intestines, and the last part will be the anal part. So this is a structural anatomy that is going to be dealt up in the upcoming slides. And whenever anything get disturbed in this gastrointestinal tract, any kind of disorder happens, we say it is a GI disorder, GIT disorder, gastrointestinal disorder. So that was a modern prospect. What does Ayurveda has to say? Even Ayurveda has its own Rachana Sharir, Kriya Sharir. We all had gone through those. So doshas which are related to digestive system or Annavaha Strotas, I would say, they are Samanavata, Pachak Pitta, Pleda Kapha, and Bodhak Kapha. Dhatus, if I was to suppose to correlate dhatus, which no doubt the whole body, all three doshas and sapta dhatus are involved in each and every system. But more precisely, when anything gets disturbed, the most uh, closely element which would be responsible are rasa dhatu, rakta dhatu, and majja dhatu, which we will see affected with because in any kind of digestive disorders. Mala, I would say Purish and Mutra. Purish is again the end product of the Annava Strotas. So byproduct, I would say byproduct because it is a vestigial part. Sar and Pitta Vibhajan takes place into a Grani, we all had seen. Annam Munchayati Pachayati Vivechayati. And after that, a Sar Pitta Vibhajan takes place, and Pitta Bhag is nothing but a Purish. Then comes Agni, Jathar Agni, Rasadhatu Agni, and Raktadhatu Agni. These are the Agnis that Jathar Agni always is responsible for any kind of disorder, whereas Dhatu Agni is when we say, obviously Rasa, Rakta, and Majja Dhatu Agni will play an important role. Strotas, as I said earlier, it is directly related to Annava Strotas, Ambuvaha Strotas, Rasavaha Strotas, indirectly with Raktavaha and Majjavaha Strotas. So we all know the basics, but just trying to brush up the things, because this will be very useful when you will be dealing up with such kind of disorders. So when a person comes to you in your clinic for any kind of digestive disorders, the complaint starts. Most commonly seen symptoms are bloating, diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, abdominal pain, irritable bowel, gases and flatulence, indigestions. These are some of the complaints. I would say these are the signs, not even a bigger symptoms. Abdominal pain, IB, irritable bowel, or vomiting as a part will be a major thing, but otherwise bloating, diarrhea, constipation, indigestion, gases, flatulence are more commonly seen symptoms. The reason might be even cough, cold, fever will also give you certain conditions from this segment, or there might be a cancerous patient, even they can give you such complaints. So it is a part of a doctor to understand the severity, from what is the duration of a complaint a patient referring to. This will make a case serious or less serious or more serious part. So these problems lead to major health challenges later if they are left out untreated or even unrecognized. So we need to work out in these factors, these conditions more precisely, which can later land into these symptoms which we seen in the previous slide, can again cause a disorders. If I'm saying disorders, gastrointestinal disorders are conditions such as constipation, IBS, in irritable bowel syndrome, colitis, liver disorders, diverticular disease, colon polyps and cancers. These are the list of conditions, right? From constipation might be the smallest one till the cancer, which is the severest one. Other than that, there are nutritional disorders. A particular vitamin deficiency or a particular mineral deficiency can cause a particular disorder. Or there might be hemorrhoid, anal fissures, perineal abscess, or anorectal disorders as well. So these are the set of things that we come across in our day-to-day practice. So most of the time, things get uh, leaning curve, right, from the most commonest thing to the severest one. Our sir always used to tell us that rare diagnoses are very rarely seen. So we are not supposed to land up to make some very fancy conclusions or diagnoses. Keep the things as simple as we can, and then we can move forward. So if at all, I am just coming to its our topic, yogic management, because that is of more concern, as you all are doctors and you know how to diagnose a particular disease, and what are the ways, what are the complaints, what are the presenting complaints, what are the diagnostic signs, assuming these all are done. And I think even in month of December we had gone through one uh, segment from Ayurshala Ghar Wapsi. Even in that I had shared the thing, so you can coordinate with the organizers for the details of those treatment regimes and all. But now coming to the disorders and its yogic management. So in this slide, we will be seeing a yogic management. But before starting, we'll just touch up to the Ayurvedic concepts regarding session. Hello, sir, voice is not audible.
Now it's audible, sir. Hello.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah. So the food is the thing that we need to get it corrected. So we need to understand what was the food a person is eating. So what is a diet that we can ask a person to? And being a doctor, we are very fond to prescribe them what is the ideal answer that we give them. Shift to a vegetarian diet, have more amount of fruits, vegetables, grains, have a raw food which will be easy to digest. More amount of fibrous food will help us. So these are the things that we ask the patient to eat. Next is milk and milk products. These are some of the do list that we give to a patient. There are do's and there are don'ts that we ask the patient to. So obviously people are now well aware that what they have to do and what they don't have to do. But as a doctor, you need to understand the science of food and dietetics also, because nowadays it's not the concept of milk and milk products are those which were quoted traditionally. दही दूध तूप लोणी एवढंच आपल्या डाएट मध्ये असायचं का? So no, now there are so many new things entered, right? Butter, cheese, yogurts, etc. These are added to the diet regime of many of the peoples. So you need to understand these aspects as well before prescribing them. Cooked food and recipes, thanks to lockdown of now 1.5 years, YouTube and those bloggers with the recipes are flooded with the viewers, right? So number of hits on the new recipes you can see, right from caramel popcorns to very delicious veg and non-veg breakfast and dinner food items available on the YouTube. So even a study was conducted on in that phenomenon, that number of hits were increased from 20 to 30% on recipes which was served on YouTube and other sites, video sites. So this is how you can imagine what are the level of searching peoples are doing up, and how experimental and guinea pig the peoples are nowadays, where we are tested with such kind of varieties of food. So avoid all those things. That is the prime concern. Whenever diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. Whenever diet is correct, medicine is not needed at all. So let food be the medicine and let medicine be your food. So this is the quote that I would like you all to remember when it comes to gastrointestinal disorders. So I think there was some disturbance.
Request to
Dr.
Dr.
Gita
Gita,
Yadav?
kindly mute your mic.
Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. So we'll continue. Yogic management. So that was the very ideal time for a disturbance, I would say, because those who had completed their academics or at least second and third year and Swastavritta, if they are gone with Swastavritta, by default they have to study the course of yoga, right? Because paper one part B is full of yoga when Swastavritta is considered. Yoga and Nisargopchar. And the first slok that was quoted. And when I say Yoga Shastra, the best book which we refer, can anybody tell me which was the best book for, as you all know, for Ayurveda, which are the best books that we refer? Classical text, Charak, Sushrut, Vagbhat. Yes, this is just a conversation between participants. It will be very boring to give a one-way conversation, right? So if I consider Charak, Sushrut, Vagbhata as a pioneer of Ayurveda, can anybody tell me who is the pioneer of yogic science or Yoga Shastra? Anybody? I hope
Patanjali
all
Yoga.
Yeah, very good. So the answer is very truly said, Patanjali. And the book that we refer is Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And before starting with this topic, the first quote that Patanjali says, whenever you are reading to certain books, we have a habit to start from the start, obviously. So the first slok that Acharya Patanjali has told us is Atha Yoga Anushasanam. So only 2 to 3 words, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. So those who want to enter into this field, just read this one thing. If you understand, then go for second, or else you are happy to live your life your ways. You enjoy whatever you want to do, but don't do yoga, because Yoga Shastra is all about Anushasan. And if I just want to translate it for you, the virtual or the simplest translation for Anushasan is discipline. So what does Yoga Shastra is all about? It is about the discipline. And when I say discipline, it's not, yeah. So somebody is practically demonstrating us about the discipline. So discipline is nothing about just Amitabh Bachchan saying it dialogues in Mohabbat film, right? Parampara Pratishtha Anushasan. No, Anushasan is about your each and everything that you do, whether you read, whether you listen, whether you work, whether you write, whether you laugh, whatever you do, there has to be a certain way to do it which is acceptable by all. And Anushasan is about discipline, a regularity, how continuously you are doing. Abhyas is nothing but repetition of thing, doing it again and again. So abhyasat praptate drushti. So once you do the things again and again, you will be understanding what are the logics of. And once you understand the logics, it's very easy for implementation. And that's why Patanjali has quoted in his first quote, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. So no matter in which field you are, whatever you do in your life, the only success mantra for you is discipline. If you are doing the things in a disciplined way, if you are doing it consistently, hard work is going to pay for sure. The success will surely knock your door, if not sooner, then later for sure. So disciplined life is very important, and that is the base of Yoga Shastra. And that's how we are using it into our day-to-day life. How this is going to help you, because Yoga Shastra helps to transform your body. Everybody might be fit in their own ways, but when you go and get a graph of it, or when you get it analyzed from a particular doctor or any scientific person, you will get some or the other thing lacking, right? Either somebody will be lacking physically or mentally, or somebody might not be that sound enough, might be distressed. Stress and etc are the day-to-day part of life of each and every person. So yoga helps us to work out on overall physical health by various asanas, pranayams, etc., and overall mental health with the help of antaranga yoga, that is dharana dhyan samadhi. It helps to give you better respiration. And who knows better than us in this particular era? Current scenario is full about respiration and diseases, respiratory disorders. COVID-19 has gone ahead with all the other diseases. And since last 1.5 year, I don't think there was any other disease picked up, right? Hardly महीने में एक या दो बार किसी और disease का नाम सुनते हैं. Otherwise, the only thing happening nowadays is COVID-19. So respiration is also one of the biggest part of the Yoga Shastra, and that's where pranayam will play an important role. Regulates your glands, right from adrenaline gland to various pituitaries and other hormonal levels. Strong immune system, it helps to improve your bone health, right, with the help of your skeletal and muscular systems. So once in a particular asana, practicing it in a daily way, it will help you to improve the strength of the muscles, bones. The flexibilities will be challenged, and that will be helping you reduce the risk of heart diseases. The more active lifestyle you will be having with you, with the help of yoga, it will help you to burn out more and more of the cholesterols from the blood, and that will also help you to reduce the risk of a heart disease in the later stage of life. And for all this, you just can't be dependent on two things, that is asana and pranayam. So you need to start right from yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So these are the 8 steps that a person has to start right from first step. Don't leap out, don't miss out any of the between steps, and don't jump to any other thing. That will surely not help you. That is where the discipline is all about. It is going to work out. So yam and niyam are equally important. Yam will be more now whatever things I had put up over here in a bracket, that is just for the sense of understanding. That is not at all the literal meaning of the word quoted over here. Yam is not at all only related to diet and lifestyle. But just to give you a brief idea, yam is about diet and lifestyle. In a broader spectrum, you can add so many things. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha, likewise, and Niyam, there are again Sauch, Santosh, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishwar, Pranidhan. So there are 5 aspects in Niyama, 5 in Niyam, and consistently with those 10 things, you will be having a proper control on yourself. If you are the person who is going to get disease, then you need to work out on your own body. And uh, I will let you know how these two things, yam and niyam, are very important. And considering to digestive system or digestive disorders, what are the yams and niyams? Ahimsa may not always mean about hitting someone or something. Ahimsa means it's not always about hinsa on a particular person, right? काही Kwachik and Mansik Hinsas are quoted when we study Yoga Shastra. So avoiding all these 3, and when it comes to digestive disorder, it will be more related to propose of vegetarian food. Avoid killing of animals and eating them. And now this is a generalized thing which is required because Rajas Ahar, Tamas Ahar, and Satvik Ahar. These are the things that we had heard which in our college days. So obviously, if I'm saying that Yoga Shastra is all about Sattva Gun Pradhanya, so obviously Rajas and Tamas Gun has to be reduced, and more amount of Sattvic Ahar has to be taken to get your body into that particular frame. So propose of more and more vegetarian food. Even in the previous days, why these Varnas were said to have a particular food regime, those with more of the IQ level job, right? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, these were the classifications done where the category of Brahmins were about to read and understand the Vedas and give a good inputs to their kings. So they need to have the proper sattvika and they need to have a proper understanding sense. So they were more supposed to have a vegetarian diet which will be nourishing their brain. Whereas Kshatriyas were some people who are supposed to go and fight and protect the king and his kingdom and the peoples residing in it. So they need to have that particular muscular body that won't be achieved with a vegetarian food. They need so Vruddhi Samane Sarvesha, again a law from Ayurveda which helps us to understand how a non-vegetarian diet will help to increase the muscle tone or any particular thing of a person body build structurally important things, and the aggression of that particular animal also comes into that particular soldier that is needed over there. You don't want a soldier to be very thin enough and who is very frightened of and who is not willing to fight the things, right? So that were the conditions where the food and the regimes were as per the duties they perform. So you need to understand what a person is going to do in his job and accordingly plan out the food regime for a person, right? So that's where ahimsa will play a role into a prescription of yours to a patient. Satya, a person has to speak truth, right? If you ask a person क्या कल पे क्या खाया था कि आज एसिडिटी हो गई, कहीं बाहर जाके आप पार्टी करके आए हो, had you eaten a pizza, burger or pani puri or something like that, spicy things, a person if he is lying to you, no no sir मैंने तो कल कुछ नहीं किया, अपने आप एसिडिटी हो गया, is it a magic? We are not in a Hogwarts school, right? कि वहां पे जादू से किसी का पेट बिगड़ गया, nothing like that. So that has to be very truly understood. Sorry. So person or a patient has to be in a proper sense to answer, and that's where even we know that Ayurveda has told 4 gunas of Rugna, right? He should be Just give me a second. There is some network issue, but here we can continue. Saucha is about cleanliness. Cleanliness about the food the person is going to eat, the person who is cooking it, the person who is going to eat, the vessels, they has to be very proper and clean enough. So this is where Saucha is going to play an important role. And then Santosh to have the control on the mind, right? One person should be very satisfied enough and he should understand the body's response, how often the body is going to respond to a person, and how what is the response a person is going to do. If a person is liking a particular food and is eating it again and again and overdose has happened, that is going to cause a disease to a person. So you need to avoid such kind of things. Tapa, that is control diet, right? So you need to have a control on your food. So Saucha and Santosh will be related to the same phenomena. So this is how you have to work out on yam and niyam when it comes to digestive disorders. Now starting with the yoga asanas. So let us see which are the asanas which are going to be beneficial for you when it comes to yoga asanas. So before starting directly with the asanas, I will like to introduce briefly about asanas. So asanas are nothing but positions of a body which are contributing to the steadiness of a body and mind and a sense of well-being. So if a person is sitting, sleeping, standing, doing whatever thing, he has to be in a comfortable zone, comfortable frame of mind. If he is not comfortable, how he is going to stay in that particular posture for a longer period? And if that's not possible, how is he going to work in that particular posture? Even if you are a doctor and if you can't sit for 3 to 4 hours, how are you going to do a particular OPD, right? Or if you are a surgeon, how can you go for an operation for a longer span, which are 1 hours, 2 hours of operation, or even more at times? So you need to be very comfortable in a posture. So that is what asanas is all about. And
Hello, sir.
when it, yeah, hello, hello. Hmm.
Hello. Sir, you can
Shall I
continue.
continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, you can continue. Yes, sir, it's a request to all
Yeah.
the delegates. Kindly turn off your mics.
Yeah, we'll have a
You can.
question answer sessions if time permits later. So now let me finish up with the scheduled PPTs. Okay. So asanas can be defined as postural pattern one has to achieve, maintain, and then release it in a particular way. असं नाही की उडी मारून तुम्ही सर्वांगासन केलंय आणि नंतर उडी मारून ते सोडलंय. That is not called as yogasanas for sure. You need to go step by step, achieve a particular asana sthiti, then maintain it as long as your body permits you, and then you have to release it. So this is how an asana is all about. कसं पण आलं बसलं पायावर पाय ठेवले आणि पद्मासन घातलंय, नो दैट इज नॉट द वे. और आप कहीं से आते हो और एकदम से उल्टा दीवार को लग के शीर्षासन करते हो या सर्वांगासन करते हो एंड यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग अ टैप एंड यू आर गुड follower of yoga shastra, so that won't happen. So there is a rhythm, there is a sequence, and you need to achieve it, maintain it, and release it in a particular sequence. So understanding these things will let you know what benefits of asanas are. And when I say effects of yogasanas on digestive system, the health of human body depends on three factors, I would say. The healthy condition of various glands and organs associated to that particular system. When I'm saying now digestive system, there might be salivary glands, there might be gastric glands, which will be secreting various acids, etc., enzymes. There will be pancreas, livers, gallbladders, and number of things. So healthy condition of all these glands, thorough elimination of waste matter from the body. So body, when it is doing its own metabolic activities, they will be giving you some good products, energies and things to each and every cellular part of your body. And at the same time, there will be Pitta Bhag, Sar Bhag will be utilized for a body for maintenance of health and energy, whereas Pitta Bhag will be eliminated. So there has to be a proper drainage system as well, functional. So elimination of waste material, matter from the body. And third is flexibility of the muscles. So muscles should be flexible enough to do particular work. Even if it is your legs, your muscles need to be good enough to walk a certain distance. And even if they are muscles of your stomach, they should be good enough to make the crunching, churning, mixing, grinding, etc. part. So muscles will play a very important role. So these are the three elements that you need, and that asanas will help you in many ways. Many asanas gives the internal organs a unique massage, forcing them to perform better, right? द इजिएस्ट एग्जांपल इज, अगर आपने कहीं मैराथन भागे हो या फिर कहीं चल के गए, बहुत देर खड़े रहे हो, या फिर पैर दर्द करते हैं, so the best relief part what we have is somebody who is pressing your legs or giving some foot massage, right? You feel very relieved. Why so? Because that particular organ gets a particular massage and fatigue is relieved. So same kind of massage is expected even to the internal organs, and while performing asanas, same kind of unique massage or force is applied to that particular organ in a controlled way, and that helps you to relieve the pressure and get you a better effect, and the performance of that particular organ may increase in a particular way. The alternate stretching and contractile movements of asanas helps the muscle to regain their tone, right? Flexion, extension are seen in each and every muscle. If you remember your first year of your BMS and Kriya Sharir lectures, there are working principles of muscles. I still remember there are Z-band, actin, myosin filaments that are helping you to contract and relax. So the same phenomena is used in each and every smooth muscle or any muscle from the body. So when there is contraction and there is relaxation, so stretching and contractile movements of with the help of asanas will help the muscle to regain their tone. In the upside down postures, the sluggishness of bowel and constipations are cured at times. So the stomach muscles fall into their proper positions, helping and flattening and strengthening the protruding bellies. So these are some of the effects that we can get it from the asanas on gastrointestinal disorders. So now let us see which are the asanas that can be benefiting, and just quoting a name and this is beneficial won't help you. So I will try to justify my statements or selecting particular asanas with giving you some of the scientific examples to these particular asanas. Starting with the most easiest one, Padmasana, lotus pose, what we also called as. Padmasana is known to improve digestion. Sorry. Now you might say, sir, Padmasana mein baith gaye aur digestion improve ho gaya. What is the logic? So that there has to be certain ways, right? When a person is sitting into a Padmasana, you will see a particular position, right? Here you can see both the legs are bended in a particular way. They are kept in a particular way. It's not like any fold and any way of sitting. This particular posture helps in this asana to blood supply is very key factor over here, which play an important role. Through these asanas, blood supply to the leg becomes less or decreased and redirected to the abdominal region. Over here you can see the asana is in such a way that major arteries passing from here are bitly compressed and the supply is reduced, and at the same time that is diverted towards the stomach region or abdominal region. I won't say stomach region, I would say abdominal region. That increased flow of blood in the abdomen region benefits for the inner organ, improve the digestion, right? Sorry. Also, while performing this particular asana, the abdomens are stimulated and the contraction and relaxation of stomach muscles stimulates to the organs besides. So these asanas help us to relieve the enzymes and digest the food. Next asana will be Vajrasana. So Vajrasana is one of the second asana, the best asana that we had seen. Each and everybody can participate and do, or I would say the Vajrasana is the only asana which can be done after having your food, right? The most effective after meal asana is Vajrasana. The both muscles and both thighs are sharing the weight. So here you can see the body weight is evenly distributed, circulation is again a bit reduced, and reaching blood reaching to the stomach, heart, etc. So these blood reaching to the stomach, heart, and head. So most of the blood will be circulated to that particular region and will help to digest and absorb the food, its nutritive elements from the segment. The body above navel will get comparatively excess blood. You can see over here the body above the navel area will get bit more amount of blood in the circulation, and that will help them. Therefore working capacity of glands connected to the digestive system will increase, and you will get good amount of enzymes to digest the food. That's why we ask a person to sit in a Vajrasana position to improve the digestion immediately after having your food. The uh, after Vajrasana, you can also work out with the Supta Vajrasana. So Supta Vajrasana will help you to get some excess amount of secretions from the glands like liver, kidney, adrenaline glands, spleens, pancreas. Their work efficiency will be more and more better when you are performing Vajrasana and Supta Vajrasana. So Bhadrasana or butterfly pose. So this asana, you can see over here what is the posture. The abdominal organs receive good blood circulation once the movements are in a proper way. Again, the logic remains the same. In this posture, internal organs like stomach, liver, pancreas, small, large intestines are getting massaged. So in Bhadrasana, we have a modified format of Bhadrasana or butterfly pose, where we ask a patient to move the knee, right, up and down direction. So you will have a proper massage to the elements or organs inside the abdominal cavity. This help in removing the toxic elements and increasing the digestion of a person. Next is Ardha Matsyendrasana. Now you can see all the twisting and turning kind of asanas helps to stimulate the glands and secrete them in more and more ways. So this gives compression and strength to the abdominal region. Over here you can feel a stretch, you will feel the twist, you will feel that particular pain over here in abdominal region. Now you are not supposed to perform when it is more and more painful, but just a twist and turn, and thus facilitate the massage to the abdomens of a person. So abdominal organs over here again get massaged, and liver and pancreas are two very crucial glands which are stimulated over here and works mainly on liver and pancreas. This is very useful in treating indigestion, constipation, anorexia, flatulence, etc. So this asana can be very helpful. Ardha Matsyendrasana. Next is Paschimottanasana. or you can see seated forward bending pose. This again you will see there is a bend over here. Again the organs into the abdominal cavity will be having that particular massage over there, right, which will stimulate them to secrete the enzymes in a proper way, and it is best for stimulation of your abdominal viscera like liver, kidneys, pancreas. It increases the peristalsis of the bowel, and most of the times constipation which is because of avrojjanya samprapti, it is very helpful in that conditions. So fecal matter is pushed forward and constipations etc can be very easily done. So useful in very useful in anorexias, diarrheas, intestinal colics etc. But I just want to tell you that please avoid such kind this paschimottanasana in colitis. Those persons who are having any kind of infectious disorders. So itis itself says that there is an inflammation, so there might be red rubor dol or calor pallor, so any kind of conditions associated to itis, colitis, so you are not supposed to advise such kind of asana over there, because more of the secretions will increase the pain over there. So you need relaxative asanas over there. Next comes one of the very useful and most easily used asana is Pavan Mukta Asana. The name itself says Pavana Mukta. So any person who is having gases issues, constipation, distended abdomen, Adma Natu, very useful asana. A posture over here itself gives you the direction where the gases can be relieved. Pressure from the knees to on the abdomen will push the gases part, and it will ask the help the person to relieve. One of the very good asana person can practice immediately once he gets up in the morning. So before going for motions, you can have this asana and you can continue this. So the motions are clear in the beginning part of the day. Very effective in increasing peristaltic movements. Abdominal endocrine viscera are again massaged and stimulated as discussed. Pressure on the abdomen release any trapped gases in the intestinal part. So that's why it helps in relieving of constipation. Very useful in treatment of pain in abdomen, constipation, flatulence, indigestions, or even intestinal colic pains. Okay, so this is one of the very good asana. Next, after this comes Bhujangasana. Bhujanga relates to snake pose or a cobra pose, what we call. So this is gives a proper massage to the stomach, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. So name itself says Bhujanga, right? A snake who can digest its own toxins, right? विष सुद्धा जो पचवू शकतो. So likewise will be your digestive capacity. It's very helpful in treating the conditions of indigestions, flatulence, irritable colon. So this is the very useful in such kind of conditions. It improves the blood flow, oxygenation of the digestive system, and eliminates waste more effectively. And that's why this is one of the best asanas which we can use in a indigestion condition. Countering to that is Shalabhasana. In Bhujangasana, the upper part of the body was upstairs, you can see over here, and the lower part of the body was intact to the earth. Here you can see otherwise. So a counter asana, once you are done with Bhujangasana, you can go for Shalabhasana. Shalabhasana, the logic remains the same. It will similarly tone the muscles of the abdomen, improve digestion, increase the digestive fire. Agnila खूप चांगलं प्रदीप्त करणार आहे over here, and you can surely get some good results. So just to counter that and get the muscles toned up properly, this is again one of the very beneficial asana, Shalabhasana. One step ahead, again going one step ahead, that is Dhanurasana. Here you can see Bhujangasana and Shalabhasana in a modified way, combinedly gives you a Dhanurasana. Sorry. It improves digestion, appetite, cures constipation, improves functions of liver, pancreas, small and large intestines, and it also helps, most importantly, it helps to tone up the and strengthen up the abdominal muscles. So this is one of the very good asana that a person can use. Next comes Trikonasana. So Trikonasana or a triangle pose. Here you can see there is twisting, turning, there is no forward bending, there is no lateral bending, there is only a sideways where you have to find out. Here you will get a proper massage to the internal organs. It is very useful in toning up the muscles as well, and it is very useful in indigestion, acidity, flatulence, etc. Okay. Next is Ustrasana or a camel pose. This is again a relaxing asana. In Paschimottanasana, there was lot of pressure on the abdominal cavity. Here you can get a relaxation part, right? So this is a counteract thing. So Ustrasana, your abdominal region will be very much relaxed, right? So wherever there is constructive phenomena or aurojanya samprapti, you can ask for camel pose where the obstruction might be relieved because of the pressure is released, right? So that's why it is very, very useful in eliminating the waste and toxics and constipative conditions, flatulence, gases, etc., right? It also helps to strengthen the abdominal muscles as well. Supta Vajrasana, what we spoke previously. After Vajrasana, what we can do is Supta Vajrasana. Vajrasana was here, a person was in a 90 degrees angle. Here you can go for a tilted part. Matsyasana or a fish pose. Here you can see Padmasana Avastha and then going in a Supta Avastha. There was bit of the pressure that was released likewise. Halasana. Now these are certain asanas which are coming in the later slides. They are bit done by those who are pro, who are used to the easiest asanas, and they can do it in a very well mannered way. Those who are practicing it regularly, only they should go for the next sessions. So Halasana, how it is going to help you, you can see what is the posture over here, what is the condition of the abdominal muscle, what are the organs inside, going through the pressure and massage happening to those things. It improves the functions of abdominal organs, especially pancreas. It stimulates the secretion of insulin. So this is again one of the very good asana which you can also use for a diabetic patient. The breathing movements and the diaphragm helps massage the abdominal organs. So it cures the pain in abdomen, indigestion, hyperacidity, such kind of conditions. And as I said, diabetes also, this will be very helpful. But a person need to properly perform the things. Sarvangasana, 2 to 3 ways. This is the easiest Sarvangasana. These are the pro poses that a person can do. So Sarvangasana will also have a impact. Here a balance is very, very important. Holding yourself into the inverted position will not just help to increase the blood supply towards the brain and giving some good amount of relaxation to the abdominal muscles, but inverted position reverse the effects of gravity on the digestion. So that's why these asanas are never to be performed after having your meals, or else you will get some adverse effects. It helps in relieving the gases. It indulges overcome effects of your digestions, harmful effects of the digestions. It helps in treatment of indigestions, hyperacidities, and this is the asana which you can ask a person to perform in colitis, because here there is no pressure. It is relieved. Not the next two ones, but only this particular asana, Sarvangasana, in this particular format will be helpful, not the second or third stage of Sarvangasana. Peacock pose or Mayurasana. Those who are very fit and fine, only those persons can perform such kind of asana, right? I don't want you to be a superhuman being to understand that with a big belly, can a person perform this particular asana? Not at all. So Mayurasana is such kind of asana which can be done only with those persons who are in a good physique. So that's why it is very important for a person to be in a good shape and physique. And if you are aware of that, Mayur or more peacock, what we call, is having a tendency to digest the poison. So that is the amount of strength of the digestive system you can get if you are performing this asana properly. And nobody is going to drink a poison in our day-to-day life. But even the food that we are going to eat, if there is any kind of adulterations, missed things, but that can be resolved with performing such kind of asanas in a regularities. But again, as I said, these all things you need to understand and uh, do it with the under the guidance of a trained experts as well. It's not just something you had written and given to a person and let them do it on their own, or else you might get a person relieved from digestive disorders and he might come with a broken wrist or ankle over here to you. So that should not be a case. And last but not the least, shavasana, one of the very easiest asana, but again very difficult one, because you don't have to sleep in this condition. Ultimate pose for healing, right? Your body will be in a state of relaxation and your mind and body and brain will be taking the whole control of the regeneration, and your body's repair work will be starting to go on when you are performing such kind of asana. But you need to be in a sense of consciousness. You are not supposed to sleep. So relaxed breathing, eyes closed, palms facing upwards, and relaxed state. This is very, very important when you are performing shavasana. Rest and digest response. I would like you all to go home and search on this particular term, rest and digest. You will get ample amount of thing how the body is having good digestion when you are in a relaxed state. And that's why we always ask a person to have some rest after you have your food. It's not just like bhago dodo khana khaya idhar se udhar bhag rahe ho. So that's not going to help you. And that's why relaxation is very, very, very important. And that's where shavasana is going to help us. So these were some set of asanas that we spoke about. Other than that, there are various shuddhi kriyas, various pranayams. Vamana dhauti removes excessive acid from stomach. Vastra or Danda Dhoti physical stimulates the mucous linings. Salt water used in all kriyas had a mild antiseptic action as well. Shankha Prakshalan washes the whole GI tract. Udyan, Agnisar, Navli Kriya tones and strength of the rectal muscles. Pranayam normalizes and balances the flow of pran, which helps in correction of digestive imbalances. Balanced autonomous nervous systems improves the hormones related to digestive processes. Ayurveda, we had already had a bigger session along with the organizers, so we'll surely discuss it again if they required for, or else you can get the PPTs or recordings from the organizers, and that will give you a very good impact. But what I want to tell you is, with your prescription, please add asanas and pranayams to your patients, so that will help us to give more and more insight of the science, and your prescription will be much better and unique as compared to others. So this is what we want to say. These were some of the commonly seen diseases in our day-to-day practices. For any specific condition or asana, you can surely contact the experts and you can get the advices. But Bishak Dravyanu Rupastata Rogi Pat Chatushtam. So this is what we had seen. And Uttam Vaidya has to be Daksha Tirthartha Shastrartha Drushta Karma Suchir Bishakaha. So you need to always have a constant check on your patients. You need to understand these things very, very properly. Right? And you have to prescribe them to your patients. Lot of content is available nowadays, so you can use it in a proper way. So this is what we have for you. In our limited time span, I tried to build up the things more beneficial and ready to serve. So I thank the organizers, and we can take one or two questions if at all. And
Yes.
if it is possible, if I can answer those later, it will be of great help from the organizers.
Yes. Thank you so much,
Due to short
Dr.
of
Pratik
time
Patil, sir.
and some other lecture schedule, yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Pratik Patil, sir, for such an excellent and informative lecture on yogic management of GIT disorders. Sir, as we are running short of time, we'll take only 1 to 2 questions and then we'll leave the meeting. Okay. Now I request Dr. Jagannath to kindly start the question answer session.
Hello, Pratik sir. Can we start? Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Can we start, sir?
Yeah. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. The first question is, apart from Paschimottanasana, which asana is contraindicated in colitis?
Yeah. See, there was an infection condition. ITC is about the infection. In Paschimottanasana, there is a, you can see there is a pressure on the abdominal area. So all the twisting, turning asanas, or where there is a compression or a condition on the stomach and the associated glands, they will be secreting more of the enzymes, right? Just take an example of an milk bag, right? आपण सगळ्यांनी दूध विकत घेतलेलं असतं. So what happens to that milk bag if I'm pressing it, right? The easiest answer is that will be secreting more of the milk or squeezing of the milk. So same thing happens when I'm doing a Paschimottanasana. The glands like liver, pancreas, stomach, etc. These will be secreting more of the enzymes, and we all know that gastrines, pepsins, etc. are very, very vital. So these will be giving us more amount of secretion, acidic secretions, which will be giving erosion, right? The stimulation करणार आहे the mucous membrane ला, which is already inflammatory. So it is as good as having a lacerated wound and putting some of the acids over there. Even if we add up the hydrogen peroxide, how reactions are, that is very, very torturing. So that will happen. Just imagine the acids with pH of 1 and 2 are secreted from the stomach, and that are causing irritation to the mucous membranes of the already infected stomach. So you can understand what kind of pain a person will get. So just to avoid those things, we will be avoiding that particular asana. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question is from can we suggest these asanas in gastric ulcer patients? Which asanas are contraindicated in this case?
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, sir. Can we suggest these asanas in gastric ulcer patients? Which asanas are contraindicated in these cases?
Yeah, so just to give it in a simple words, those asanas which are giving increasing abdominal pressure should be avoided. So all those twisting, turning asanas which are giving more and more pressure on the stomach and abdominal area should be avoided, and those which are giving relaxation can be performed. This will be as simple as that. So Paschimottanasana, or I would say that asana should be avoided, and those asanas giving relaxation like camel pose hai, Ustrasana hai, we can do that particular. Even the primary stage of Sarvangasana will be giving some relaxation to the abdominal cavity, so that can be performed. But again, there are any number of other criteria also that we need to consider before giving yes or no. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. As sir is busy with his other ventures and meeting, we will cut short the session. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful lecture. Thank you all delegates.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to share my limited views and knowledge with these students and participants. If there are any queries, I will try to resolve it from my end. Please let me. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes,
So
thank you, sir. Now I declare the today's session